right, I'd like to call the meeting to order, please. Could we call the roll?
Chairman Curtis, Member Vidal, Member Martinez,
Here.
Member Elvis,
Here.
Vice Chair Leslie,
Here.
Member King, and Mayor Morris.
Here. All right, the first item we have on our agenda for this evening would be the approval of the minutes of the April 5th meeting. Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes as printed? Do I hear a motion that we approve them as printed?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the minutes.
Thank you, sir. Do I hear a second?
And I'll second that.
Okay. Do we have any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign.
Mr. Chairman, I needed to abstain from the vote on the minutes as I wasn't here.
Okay, thank you, sir. Airport Director's report. Mr. Harris.
Good evening, Chairman and board members. Start off our report with a report on the fencing project. They're still doing the cleanup and buttoning up some more items that we found. They've trenched for the new gate openers, and they're supposed to show up today, but they'll be here tomorrow. They were warded off by the rain, so they didn't want to come out and run cable in the rain. So they should be out tomorrow. We're still looking at an August time frame to finish it, and that's all we have on that one.
Okay, thank you. Runway.
Runway 1230 Pappy Lights. We're still on hold on that. We're just waiting on parts and wires and chips and circuit breakers and all the fancy stuff that needs to go into those. So we don't have any ETA on that.
Okay, thank you, sir. Any questions on that? Airport Equipment Storage Building.
The airport equipment building, did they finish up the electrical? We're waiting on farmers. Okay. The electrical on the inside of the building is complete, and we were just waiting on farmers to come and set the meter, and then the building will be ready to go. The door openers are still back ordered, and we're just waiting on those to come in.
Okay, thank you. Questions? All right. Terminal flooring project.
We're still waiting on the VCT tiles to replace the flooring in the terminal.
Questions? Terminal roof repair.
Still waiting on a quote from Nick Grego. I talked to Michael today. He's working on it. It's a lot more pieces and puzzle pieces that needs to go into it. So he's getting a quote together for that. And I talked to our New Mexico DOT contacts, and that's a priority for them. So as soon as we get the quote in, we'll probably get in a grant for it. And I'm not sure if it'll be 100% or 75, or I'm not sure where it'll fall.
Will the roof be repaired before the new floors put down?
It's doubtful. It all depends on how fast the VCT tiles. The tiles weren't damaged because of the water. They were damaged because they're old and they just needed to be replaced.
I see. Okay. Parking lot expansion?
So the funding for moving the admin offices came in from a grant. We'll talk about the grant later, but we've called in all the quotes, and right now Mark Carpenter is working on the septic and water lines. There's one septic that's right in the way, so we're going to have that abandoned and done correctly, and it's going to be moved to the other septic where the fire station goes, and lift stations and other fancy stuff that I have no idea about. Then once that's all done, we're gonna have the electrical run and the building moved and the footing set. So we're just waiting on Mark Carpenter to to complete his part, and then we'll go on to the next part.
Okay, any questions?
I have an inside baseball question. The white line that's going across the parking lot, I saw it there last week.
Yes.
With the little white flags.
Yes.
What does that indicate? Is that a buried line or?
It's for the line locates.
Oh, okay. All right.
He's my subject matter expertise.
Well, I was out there and I saw it, and I said, well, water lines are usually blue and other different colors, but I never saw a white line, so
Now, that's the color they use to signify where they want lines located
Oh.
before they start digging.
and that's going to where they're moving your building.
Right, that's going to the septic system out there.
Okay.
Yeah, there's one right in the middle of the parking lot.
Yeah, I saw that. They're gonna tear up that new asphalt.
Well, it's already there. We're gonna have to, because we're gonna pipe into that one, because that one's good, and abandon the one where the hole is dug into the ground.
Yeah.
We're gonna abandon that one.
Okay,
The plumbing
thanks.
will be done before the new parking lot is put in.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right, Aviation Grant for airport improvements?
So I got a call. It's probably the last week of June from New Mexico DOT Aviation, and it says, hey, I got $188,000 that we need to get rid of. Do you have any projects? So I went on and looked at my little board, and I said, yeah, I got a couple. So I picked a few that would fit inside of that, and one was moving the admin building, replacing the airfield lighting generator, replace all of the interior T-hanger lighting fixtures with LED fixtures, moving and replacing the airport beacon, purchase of a heavy-duty walk-behind aircraft tug, and purchasing a heavy-duty this one's a medium-duty walk-behind aircraft and GSE tug, which totaled out to be $187,823. So I spent it all up.
Good, outstanding. And that was all approved?
Yes, sir.
Outstanding.
So
Great
we
job.
have the grant in hand, and we're starting to do all the projects.
And that is 100%
Yes.
grant, so there is no match to that. And James gave me a call and said, hey, can we sign this grant? And I figured the commission wouldn't disapprove of us accepting a 100% grant, so we went ahead and executed that.
Great. Yeah. Good job. GSE update, please.
So we got our loaner GPU in. The picture that's attached is our first customer to use the GPU. They normally fly in every, couple of weeks, couple of months? And he was like, God, I wish you had a GPU so we can run our AC. And I said, well, we actually have one. And he couldn't believe it. So I said, yeah, it's right there. You want it? He says, absolutely. So we plugged it up, started it up, and he used it for about an hour and a half, running the air conditioning while they waited on their passengers. So it's a good investment, and the word is getting out.
Do we charge them by the hour? How does that work?
Yes, the first hour is $50, and then after 1 hour of use, it's charged per. No, we're doing it 0.1, 0.2. I forget how much a point is. 0.1 is what? 2 minutes, I think. I think 0.1 is 2 minutes.
6 minutes.
6 minutes?
6 minutes. Yep.
Okay, so every 6 minutes you get charged whatever the rate is for that. So, but one hour, the initial 1 hour is $50. So it's $50 per hour, and if after the first hour it's 0.1, 0.2, 0.3.
Great. Do you think that'll bring airplanes in that, because we have that, where they can keep them cool?
Yes, we've turned away so many airplanes because they either need a startup cart or they needed GPU services. So they'll go to another airport like Lubbock or Amarillo, but they need to come to Clovis, but we didn't have a GPU, so they would just go away. Now we're able to say, yes, we have a GPU, and we're advertising that. So those airplanes that go to those other locations will now come to us.
Excellent.
James, I don't remember, did you already update, ForeFlight under the FBO section?
Yes.
With all this stuff? Okay, cool.
We're advertising everywhere, AirNav, everywhere.
Sweet.
Anybody who would listen.
And so just for clarification, it's a $50 minimum charge up to 1 hour and then prorated per 10th of an hour following that.
Exactly. Just like he said.
Great.
Our aircraft flat tire dolly came in with the capacity, it can pull up to 85,000 pounds. I didn't know it was going to be that big. We don't really get anything that size, but it's good to have because it lifts the tire, the front tire up off the ground and pull it. So if Denver Air ever catches a flat, we'll be able to move them off of the runway back to the ramp. So now we have the capability to move more than we would ever have at the airport, which is always a good thing in my eyes.
Is that only for a flat on the front tires?
We have one for the front tires, and we also have another type of dolly that you can put on any tire.
Okay, and we already have that.
Yes, that one came in a couple months ago.
Great. Super. Questions? Okay.
Our lav card is shipped. We got with Blue Sky to order the proper blue juice, as I'll call it. It's the septic for aircraft. So they're ordering that for us, and when it comes in, we'll be ready to operate lavatory services for aircraft.
Okay, great. Super.
I ordered new chalks and tie-down straps for the FBO. A couple of ours have come up missing, and so we needed new ones. And we're going to mark them property of CVN or something to make sure if somebody steals it, it'll be easy to spot that where they got it from.
Okay.
And our walk-behind tugs that was in the grant, those have been ordered also.
Outstanding. Monthly airport operations report, please.
So the passenger enplanements, we haven't gotten our numbers in, but I called the station manager to get what our enplanement numbers were because he hadn't sent me the actual report. And our enplanements for last month was 1,188 passengers. So a little slower than May, but still higher.
And we're shooting for 10,000?
10,000, yes, sir.
So we're on track?
Yes, we're moving right along.
And when is the cutoff on that?
December 31st.
Okay, so, all right, good.
So over the holiday weekend, the parking lot was completely filled. They were parking on the gravel area.
Looks like.
I didn't get a good picture of it, but it was full. I wasn't able to put it on there. I got it right before I left the office. So the last month's enplanements aren't on that report.
Mr. Chairman, and what was the number again, the enplanements last month?
1,188.
So does that mean we've done it?
No, 10,000. We should be at what, 6?
It's just the enplanements
Oh,
only.
okay. I'm looking at the total. Gotcha. Any questions about that?
Aviation fuel sales, very slow month, probably due to gas prices. We've sold 4,205.8 gallons of 100 low lead and 15,753.7 at Jet A. And out of those numbers, our self-serve numbers were, as you can see on the slides, 1,638.3 for 100 low lead and 1,762 for Jet. We're doing pretty good with the Jet on the self-serve. I knew that the helicopters, the rescue helicopters would use it, but now we're getting jets in and they'll go down there, they'll use it. We got a privately owned fighter jet, which I'm not sure what it was. I think it looked like an F-5 though, but I'm not exactly sure what it was. And they went down there and they got their own gas and walked down to the FBO and took off. So we're getting a lot more traffic on the Jet A self-serve than I expected.
Great. Questions, comments?
Current fuel price right now at the airport, $7.18 for 100 low lead full service and $5.93 for self-service. $6.74 for Jet A full service and $5.49 for self-serve. And compared to the rest of the country and the region, we're doing pretty good.
For 21 or 19 cents, will somebody fly an airplane here to save 19 cents a gallon?
Depends on what their destination is. If they're flying over and they need a fuel stop, yes. But if their destination is Portales, no, they'll go to Portales.
Yeah, okay.
Portales is cheaper than us, by the way. I don't know how they're doing it, but yeah. So, I'm gonna find a way to get them, Mr. Mayor. You'll see.
I believe you will.
Be careful, I'm watching him, he's writing all that down. Okay, anything else about operations?
We've had 5,814 total operations for the year. Last year, our total operations were 4,000 and some change. So we're on track to also surpass 10,000 total operations, which is a good thing also when you look at the FAA and the improvement projects, because that puts us in another ball game, because that's another factor that they look at for the airport. So one of my big asks, I call it, is to reconstruct the runway. Heavier, more strength, and when we land aircraft, bigger aircraft, they'll see that PCN number, and those larger aircraft will come in and give us more operations, because now we're showing that we have the strength. So our total operations number factors into all of that.
What all is counted under that total operations number?
Takeoffs and landings, of course, and then you have approaches and touch and goes. They all count.
Great.
Even if someone just wants to track our ILS, that's a count.
Questions? Civil Air Patrol glider encampment?
So the Civil Air Patrol came to us a couple months ago about their national glider encampment. It's basically a... You want to explain it? I'll have Lee explain it. He knows it better than I do.
So the Civil Air Patrol they're bringing in 3 gliders and probably 4 or 5 airplanes to tow them with. And they have kids come from all over the region, and they take them up in a glider, glide them around for a little while, and just keep leapfrogging kids through the air in an air glider.
How long's the camp?
It's a week and a half.
Okay. And do the kids live at the airport?
No, they're living at Eastern New Mexico University in Portales.
Okay.
So they'll do all their classes there, and then they'll come to the airport and fly their gliders.
That's great. What age kids are we talking about?
That I don't know.
I have no idea.
Other questions about Civil Air Patrol? All right. Jump training.
the Clovis drop zone will be activated. So from the 10th to the 30th, Cannon Air Force Base, one of their detachments is having some jump training. They haven't told me that the training is sensitive or classified or anything, but they'll be using C-130s to jump at our drop zone. The C-130 will be operating from the airport, on the airport, around the airport. Some of that coincides with the glider encampment. We've let both parties know that there's going to be odd operations happening at the airport, so be a little more mindful, be a little more careful. So the jump, they're going to use our equipment building for their parachute, the rigging of the parachutes and putting them all up and storing them. And then they're going to get in the airplane, jump, and it's going to go on from the 10th to the 30th. So they'll be training Cannon airmen and other special op airmen from around the country.
Where will their landing zone be?
You know where the hill is off of the runway 1230? It's on the north end of the airport.
Okay.
They're gonna be using both of them.
Oh, they're also using the other drop zone that we have on the other side of the runway also. So we actually have two drop zones. One is just your regular parachute drop, and then they have a static line drop zone, which is longer. I don't know how to explain it, but
Is it over where the old grass strip, that side of the runway?
no, the other end. If you look from the north ramp across the runway, that's where it'll be.
Okay.
Questions?
How are they gonna, I mean, how will they deconflict with aircraft arriving and
Should get notamed out.
departing? They'll notam it?
Should.
Yeah, there's going to be NOTAMs in for both operations, and then also they'll be coordinating within themselves on the Unicom frequency.
That'll be important for the VFR flyers.
Yeah.
Check the
You know,
NOTAMs.
these guys in the bug squashers.
A lot of the parachuting is going to be done in the evenings after the gliders have finished, because the glide and stuff, they do that in the morning because of the wind and a bunch of fancy smart people stuff I don't understand. But
And no air conditioning in a glider.
yeah, I don't understand how it works. It's just like, what? What are you doing?
Thanks. Mr. Harris, how did this, and maybe you said at the beginning, as you began to talk about the jump training activity, but this is exciting. I mean, it sounds like, you know, just a really fantastic opportunity for the military to do some training at our facility. But how did that come about? I mean, how did we wind up with this partnership and them using our facilities?
Well, I'll let Mr. Lee, who is responsible for this, explain how he got this done.
Okay.
After the last airport director left, and between him and James, they come out and asked me about setting up a drop zone. And had a sergeant from the base come out and survey the entire airport. And I took him around, and we picked a place that was the most convenient and accessible and safe for them to do a free fall jumps. And it just kind of rolled in from there. I got with Mr. Howalt, and we got the MOU done for that first one. And so the military just named it the Clovis Drop Zone. And that's basically where that one started. And then last year, they came out again, and they wanted to do a static line drop zone, which the free fall drop zone is circular, and the static line is a rectangle. So where he's talking about the hill, the round drop zone is off of the intersection of 1230 and 422 to the northwest. And then the static line runs parallel with 422 on the east side of the runway, east, southeast, whatever. So that's basically how that come about.
Outstanding. Thanks. Nice work.
Thank you.
Nice work on that, and just love seeing this on the long list of partnerships with Canon, and I just think that's very exciting. So thanks for expanding on that a little bit.
Have they done this before, the actual jump, or have they just identified the jump sites?
They've jumped a lot. Right now, we're their backup for Melrose. Normally they jump at Melrose, but sometimes there's conflicts or Melrose is under some type of construction. For some reason, they can't use it, so they call us as their backup.
Okay, great. All right, any other updates or anything we need to discuss or talk about?
No.
Okay. Is there any business for the good of the order? Mr. Holwell, do you have anything?
I don't have anything. James, I thought you may have something for the good of the order that you mentioned earlier today.
Oh.
Yeah,
Well,
you're
Vicky
welcome.
told me I couldn't.
You can talk about it. You can't take action on it.
Okay. Monthly billing. We now have the capacity to effectively do monthly billing for fuel for tenants. We're currently putting that practice into action right now for Denver Air because we've moved away from Fuel as their fueling contract fuel because Fuel is required by law to tax them a certain way, but for us, we don't fall under that. So when they got fuel from Fuel, their price would be the price that it would be if it was a higher price than what we advertised. So they stopped fueling with us, and I said, well, let's figure out what's going on. So I got all the information and found out where the disconnect was, and it was in the taxes that Fuel has to charge them. So now they buy fuel direct from us, but they like to pay it monthly. So we're using this as a test bed, and it's working out because with the new FBO software, we can just put it into an account, and at the end of the month, we run that account, it emails them an invoice, and they take care of the invoice like that. So now that we've had the practice to do it with Denver Air, I'd like to offer it to the tenants like we were before because it will be easier for us to do it correctly. So that's one of the things that, need to get approval for and all the fancy stuff.
If we do that, will we save not only Denver Air money, but will we save our tenants money also?
It's only a benefit through the people who have the Fuel contract. Because let's say me as a pilot, I have the Fuel contract card and I go to an airport. I'm not buying fuel from the airport. I'm actually buying it from Fuel, and Fuel is paying the airport for it. So since I'm buying it from that private company, I'm required to tax them how a private company is supposed to tax them. But if I'm buying it direct from the airport for, I don't know why, New Mexico, as a government entity, we can only tax certain amounts, if I'm saying it right.
As a governmental entity from a gross receipts tax standpoint, so 8.1875 is our current gross receipts tax. We only charge 5% gross receipts tax as a governmental entity because basically we don't pay ourselves gross receipts tax. And so that's what the difference is. And then there's gasoline tax charged on, I want to say Jet A, but then gross receipts tax is charged on 100, the other way around. 100 Lola, so reverse that. And so it's all started when actually Commissioner Burns asked if we received any taxes from the sale of fuel out there, and we started to investigate it. And the taxes on aviation fuel is complicated. Imagine that, we're in New Mexico, it's not simple. And so that's where we started looking at and visiting with AvFuel and what they were charging from a taxing standpoint, and making sure that we as a municipality were paying our share of taxes to the state of New Mexico. And so that's what we've been working through and trying to making sure that we were in compliance, obviously, with what tax and rev requires. And even state aviation had done a PowerPoint presentation on it a couple of years ago. I can't remember the date on it, but trying to make sure that airports were charging the correct taxes when selling fuel. So that's really kind of what brought this up and got us looking into it. But that main difference being our governmental rate of gross receipts tax versus what a private individual would be charging for gross receipts taxes.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Questions? Any other comments, Mr. Harris? Yeah, Jamie?
Mr. Chairman, I've got a question. So, did you mention that there was a 5% tax rate being assessed now as opposed to the 8% tax rate? There's a county tax rate that we,
Well,
right?
the airport right now, as of July 1, is 6%.
6%?
So we don't follow the city's 8.1.
Okay.
It was, what is it, 6.125, I believe, and now it's 6% right now.
Okay.
But then you have to do some kind of equation, and
Well, and that deals with, yeah. So obviously there's a separate gross receipts tax rate outside of the municipal boundary versus what's inside the municipal boundary. And so what's James is mentioning it going from 6.125% down to 6% is because at the last legislative session, the state chose to decrease the state's portion of gross receipts taxes by 0.125%. And so that's what reduced not only outside in the county, but within the municipal boundary, all gross receipts taxes rates will be decreased by that 0.125%. The airport itself is located in the county outside of the city limits versus being inside the city limits. So they've always charged a different gross receipts tax, say on construction projects, versus what we would charge inside the municipal boundary. Now, when we sell a product out there, we would be charging the municipal gross, that 5% versus what the county's is. So, for example, even at the Civic Center or even at the golf course, our gross receipts tax rate for what the products that we're selling is different than what a private sector individual would be.
Understood. I was just a little confused with the 8% and 5%. I didn't get
Yes,
that.
yep.
So, okay, thank you.
May I?
Yes, sir,
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor.
So, just to continue the whole gross receipts on fuel conversation, I want to make sure I understand something. So, we're out in the county. So does the county, do we remit gross receipts to the county on fuel sales?
That would be correct.
We do. Okay. So Curry County is benefiting when the city of Clovis is selling fuel.
Correct, or any construction projects that are going out at the airport as well, simply because it's in the county. It's not located within the municipal boundary.
But the city of Clovis is not collecting gross receipts on the sale of aviation fuel because the city of Clovis is the entity selling the fuel.
Correct.
Interesting. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Anything else? All right, if there's nothing else, we'll adjourn the meeting. We sure appreciate everybody being here. Thank you, and James, Lee, thanks for all you're doing to make our city a better place and have more people coming and going. Mr. Mayor, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Certainly, I'd just echo what you've said, Mr. Chairman. Thanks for the job you do out there. The airport is certainly a bright spot in our community right now with the exciting activity taking place out there. you know, I shared with you, and I actually misspoke and referred to it. I'll just embarrass myself in front of all of you. I was talking to the airport director and bragging about the experience I'd had out there, and it slipped out. I said municipal airport. Incorrect, of course. It's the regional airport. But I had done a trip to a conference for my private business and used Denver Air Connections and actually connected to Southwest in Denver. It was a breeze. Southwest is in the same terminal. We came off of the Denver Air Connections flight, went up an escalator, and we were at the gate for our connecting flight. So again, Clovis and our area is connected to the world now because of Denver Air Connections. But I wanted to just comment that the airport is clean. Everything is just a pleasure out there. So thanks for all you're doing.
Thank you. All right, meeting adjourned. Thank you.